The San Siro is a place where legends go to be confirmed, but on the night of November 16, 2025, it became a graveyard for the established order. As the final whistle echoed through the cathedral of Italian football, the scoreboard read, "Italy 1, Norway 4. It wasn't a fluke. It wasn't a series of defensive errors or a lucky bounce in the rain. It was a systematic dismantling of a traditional superpower by a nation that hasn't touched a World Cup pitch since the turn of the millennium. The silence in Milan was the sound of a sleeping giant finally opening its eyes. For 28 years, the world has viewed Norway as a footnote in international football. They were the team that produced occasional individual stars, but lacked the collective spine to survive a brutal European qualifying cycle. They were the team of broken promises and summer holidays spent watching other, smaller nations celebrate on the global stage. But the numbers coming out of Oslo lately are not just impressive, they are terrifying. While the traditional giants are aging out or struggling to find an identity, Norway has quietly constructed the most lethal statistical profile in modern international football. We are no longer talking about an underdog story. We are talking about the emergence of a new world power that is currently being ignored by everyone who matters. The 2026 World Cup is being framed as a coronation for the usual suspects, a battle between the tactical sophistication of Europe and the individual brilliance of South America. Yet, tucked away in the data is a team that went 8 for 8 in qualifying. Norway didn't just win their group, they vaporized it. They finished 6 points clear of an Italian side that looked utterly helpless to stop them. They scored 37 goals across 8 matches and surrendered only 5. That is not the record of a team happy to be there. That is the record of a predator. At the center of this statistical anomaly is a man who is currently rewriting the physics of the sport. Erling Haaland did not just participate in this qualifying run, he consumed it. 16 goals in 8 matches. He became the fastest player in the history of men's international football to reach 50 goals for his country. He didn't just beat the records held by Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Kylian Mbappe. He shattered them. When Haaland scores, he doesn't celebrate like a man who has achieved something extraordinary. He celebrates like a man who has finished a routine task at the office. This cold, mechanical efficiency is what makes Norway so dangerous. They have the ultimate cheat code in a tournament format, where one clinical finish can change the trajectory of an entire nation. But focusing solely on Haaland is the mistake that every opponent makes, and it is exactly why they keep losing. The true engine of this revolution is Martin Ødegaard. For years, the narrative around Ødegaard was one of wasted potential, the teenage prodigy who moved to Real Madrid too soon and faded into the background. Today, he is the most sophisticated playmaker in the international game. His statistics tell a story of total control. With 67 caps and 18 assists, he is the bridge between a hard-working midfield and a historic attack. He is the player who understands when to kill the tempo and when to ignite it. During qualifying, he provided 7 assists, more than anyone else in the squad, acting as the tactical architect for Haaland's destruction. Ødegaard operates in the pockets of space that shouldn't exist, finding passing lanes that defenders haven't even thought to close. He is the calm in the center of the storm. When Norway are under pressure, they don't panic. They find Ødegaard, and the game slows down to his pace. This relationship between the architect and the executioner has been missing from Norwegian football for 3 decades. Now that it has arrived, it has brought with it a level of belief that borders on arrogance. They are no longer hoping to qualify. They are expecting to dominate. To understand the weight of this moment, you have to look at the scars. Norway's history at the World Cup is a series of long, agonizing silences punctuated by one night of impossible glory. They have only reached the tournament 3 times, 1938, 1994, and 1998. The 1998 run in France is still the gold standard, the night they beat Brazil 2-1 in the group stage. Everyone remembers the Torre Andre Flo equalizer and the Kettle Rekdal penalty in the 89th minute. That result remains one of the greatest upsets in the history of the competition. But for the generation that followed, that victory wasn't an inspiration. It was a ghost. It was the last time they felt relevant. Since then, they failed to qualify for 2002, 2006, 2010, 2014, 2018, and 2022. They even missed Euro 2024, a failure that felt like the absolute floor for a team with this much talent. That specific pain, the humiliation of sitting at home while the rest of the world celebrates, has forged a different kind of mentality in this current squad. There is a specific sadness in Norwegian football history, a sense of what if that has haunted every campaign. But Ståle Solbakken has taken that resentment and turned it into a tactical weapon. Since taking over in 2020, he has moved away from the reactive defensive styles of the past. He has built a team that wants the ball, wants the pressure, and wants the fight. Solbakken's tactical framework is a masterclass in modern verticality. He primarily utilizes a 4-3-3 that can morph into a 4-2-3-1 depending on the phase of play. It is a system built on aggression. Norway is currently one of the highest pressing teams in UEFA. They don't wait for you to make a mistake. They force you into one. They flood the channels with runners and look to move the ball forward as quickly as possible. This isn't possession for the sake of possession. This is football played at a sprint. The instruction is clear. Get the ball to Ødegaard, let him find the space, and feed Haaland early. If you try to sit deep and absorb the pressure, they will batter you with crosses and second balls. If you try to play a high line, Haaland will outrun your entire defense before you can turn around. It is a tactical dilemma with no good answer. This aggressive posture was on full display during their 11-1 demolition of Moldova. While critics pointed to the quality of the opposition, they missed the point. Norway didn't stop at 3 or 4. They kept pushing, kept pressing, and kept scoring. They are playing with a ruthlessness that suggests they are making up for 28 years of lost time. This isn't just a two-man team either. That is the lazy analysis that will lead to a disaster for their opponents in 2026. Behind the star power of the Premier League duo is a squad filled with elite European experience. Alexander Sørloth has reinvented himself at Atletico Madrid as one of the most physically imposing strikers in La Liga. He offers a different dimension, a target man who can bully center-backs and win headers in crowded boxes. In many national teams, Sørloth would be the undisputed star. In Norway, he is the secondary threat that teams forget to mark until it's too late. Then there is Antonio Nusa. At just 21 years old, the RB Leipzig winger is the X-factor. He is fearless, direct, and possesses a level of one-on-one dribbling ability that Norway hasn't seen in decades. He stretches the pitch, creating the very gaps that Ødegaard and Haaland thrive in. Oscar Bobb adds another layer of technical brilliance, a player who can operate in tight spaces and provide a moment of magic when the game becomes stagnant. In the middle, Sander Berge provides the physical presence and defensive discipline required to let the attackers roam free. This is a balanced, deep, and highly specialized roster. Every player knows their role, and more importantly, every player believes in the system. This wasn't a series of isolated results. It was the final calibration of a machine 20 years in the making. The shift happened when the Norwegian Federation stopped trying to emulate the traditional powers and started leaning into their own unique strengths. They combined the physical robustness of their heritage with the technical sophistication of the modern era. The result is a team that is genuinely awkward to play against. They are too strong to be bullied and too fast to be caught. The 2026 draw has placed them in Group 1, which many are calling the Group of Death. They face France, Senegal, and Iraq. On paper, France are the favorites, the aristocrats of the game. Senegal are the African champions of grit and power. Iraq are the wild card. But look closer at the schedule. Norway opens against Iraq on June 16th. A win there sets the tone. Then they face Senegal on June 22nd. If they secure points in those first two matches, the final group game against France in Boston on June 26th becomes a heavyweight battle for top spot. Imagine the scene, Haaland versus Mbappe, with the eyes of the world finally watching. This is the stage Norway has been craving. They aren't looking to survive the group, they are looking to win it. However, the path to glory is littered with potential disasters. The very things that make Norway dangerous also make them vulnerable. Solbakkens' insistence on a high defensive line is a massive gamble. Against elite teams like France or Brazil, a single mistimed press can leave the back line completely isolated. If the first wave of pressure is bypassed, the center-backs, including Christopher Ayer, are often forced into foot races they cannot win. This tactical fragility is the price they pay for their offensive output. There is also the concern at fullback. Julian Ryerson and David Müller-Wülf are solid, dependable players, but they are not world-class defensive specialists. Against the world's elite wingers, they could be exposed, but the biggest shadow hanging over this campaign is the health of Martin Ødegaard. He is the only player in the squad who is truly irreplaceable. While they have depth in attack, they do not have another player who can manipulate the tempo of a game like the Arsenal captain. If Ødegaard is sidelined, the Norwegian machine loses its brain. They become a team of individuals rather than a cohesive unit. This reliance on a few key pillars is the classic weakness of a smaller nation, and it is a risk that could derail the entire project before it even begins. But the psychological momentum behind this team is unlike anything we have seen in recent history. There is a sense of destiny surrounding this group. They have spent their entire lives hearing about 1998, about how their country used to be able to compete with the best. Now, they are the ones setting the records. They are the ones winning at the San Siro. They are the ones with the best striker on the planet. The pressure that usually breaks smaller teams doesn't seem to affect them. Haaland plays like he's in his backyard. Ødegaard plays like he's in a library. This collective calm is a byproduct of their preparation. They have traveled to the United States early to acclimatize to the heat. They have studied the growth of the MLS and the conditions of the American stadiums. They are treating this tournament with the clinical precision of a corporate takeover. They aren't just here to participate in the festivities, they are here to disrupt them. They are the nightmare matchup that no top seed wants to see in the knockout rounds. They are the team that will play 90 minutes of high-intensity, vertical football and never blink. As we approach the summer of 2026, the conversation will continue to revolve around the traditional powerhouses. The media will focus on the legacy of Messi, the rise of Mbappe, and the flair of Brazil. Norway will remain in the periphery, a dark horse that people acknowledge but don't truly fear. That suits them perfectly. They have spent 28 years in the shadows, and they are comfortable there. But the data doesn't lie. The 8 wins in qualifying are real. The 4 goals in Milan are real. The 50 international goals for a 25-year-old striker are real. This is a team that has been built for this exact moment, a team that has turned failure into fuel. When the tournament begins, the world will finally see what happens when a generation of elite talent is backed by a system of total belief. The ghosts of 1998 can finally be laid to rest. Norway is no longer chasing its past. It is sprinting toward a future where they are the ones being hunted. They are the statistical anomaly that is about to become a global reality. They are the shock that everyone should have seen coming. In the end, international football is defined by moments of sudden, violent change. It is defined by the team that refuses to accept its place in the hierarchy. Norway has spent 3 decades being told they are too small, too isolated, and too dependent on individuals. They have listened to the experts explain why they aren't ready, and they have responded by becoming the most efficient scoring machine in Europe. The 2026 World Cup won't just be another tournament for them, it will be the validation of a decade of tactical planning and individual sacrifice. It will be the moment the rest of the world realizes that the old map of football power has been redrawn. As the sun sets over the stadium in Boston on June 26th and Erling Haaland stands over the ball, the history of Norwegian football will no longer be a story of what went wrong. It will be a story of what finally went right. The sleeping giant isn't just awake, it's hungry, and in 2026, the world is on the menu. A cold wind is coming. Can anyone actually stop them?